All right, welcome back to Creator Side Income. Today we have Erin Lawrence here to talk about creating a professional brand as a product reviewer. Now, I sought Erin out specifically to talk about this topic because she has been doing product reviews since even before me, and I've been doing it for a while. And she has a very large following on YouTube. She has a lot of people even following her on her storefront on Amazon. And so that doesn't just magically happen. It comes through a lot of hard work. Excited to introduce Erin. Tell us kind of where you're from and how you got started with this whole product review stuff.
For sure. Thanks, Tyler, for having me on your podcast. I really appreciate the opportunity to get to know your audience and hopefully help them get through some of the struggles they're having. So, I started out reviewing products in about 2014 or so. I had a little blog that I had started, a personal blog, and was really interested more in writing reviews, doing some writing. A friend of mine who worked at Best Buy saw one of my reviews that I had written for the very first Fitbit that was out there and said, you've covered this really well. It seems like you're really good at it. You appear to know how to write. Would you like to write for us at Best Buy? And I thought that was pretty cool. I was like, wow, a paid writing gig. Yes, please. So I started writing reviews for Best Buy. And Best Buy was one of the first to also start doing video reviews for the products that we were reviewing. And at that time, they didn't have a YouTube channel. So we had to post our video reviews on our own YouTube channel. So that was kind of why I started my YouTube channel in the first place. But what I saw very quickly was, a really great response from the audience, and people were very encouraging and helpful. For the most part, they offered really helpful feedback and kind comments. So being able to create content and hear back from people that it really helped them or they appreciated it was one of the early things that really kept me going. So over the years, the channel's continued to grow. I'm at about 90,000 subscribers right now and closing in on that coveted 100,000 mark, which I'm going to be really excited about. I'm going to try and find something really cool to do for that for my YouTube viewers. Yeah, along the way, I've been fortunate enough to be able to kind of diversify that product review game. I've joined the Amazon affiliate and then the on-site influencer program. I have my blog. I work with brands on video content as well. It keeps me really busy.
Now, for people who are new to product reviews or who are considering doing product reviews, it's a lot different now than it was 10 years ago, where you could post to your own website or your own blog. You could post to a brand like Best Buy to their actual website, but there weren't a lot of social media platforms where you could just post videos. Now we have Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, even newer review sites like Flip. And so it's kind of hard today to think, where should I start? You went all in on YouTube pretty early. Is that still your advice to people, is start with YouTube, or is there a better social media platform right now for video reviews?
Man, I think there's so many great social media platforms out there for people who want to get started doing videos or even product reviews. I know a lot of people are finding great early success with TikTok. I'm a little jaded on TikTok because I want to make sure TikTok's going to stick around before I sort of go all in on TikTok. But I know a lot of people are having great success with that. I think it's kind of whatever you're most interested in, wherever you spend most of your time. I think that's actually really important, is to be able to understand the platform that you're choosing to upload to. You need to spend a lot of time there. So for me, that was YouTube early on. And I do still spend 95% of my time and effort on YouTube videos. The other thing I'll say about that, though, is I do think it's good to focus on just a couple of platforms where you're going to post your content. So much content these days can be repurposed and re-uploaded, across half a dozen platforms, if not more. But I think if you're going to do social media well, it helps if you, again, understand that platform and create content that's going to resonate with that audience. So for me, that's been primarily YouTube. And that's why I like to stick to YouTube, because I know it really well and I understand the audience there really well. But I do also use Instagram kind of to promote that content and, grow an audience on another platform. Yeah, I would just say pick the platform that resonates the most with you and stick to one or two platforms. Because if you're trying to get content on sort of every platform every single day, in my mind, that's a recipe for future burnout.
I 100% agree. And that was going to be my follow-up question is, do you pick a platform or do you try to do, Gary Vee would say like be everywhere. And I don't know if that really works for product reviews. You mentioned you're focused on YouTube because that's what you understand. A lot of people watching this will be like, well, I don't understand anything yet. And so my plug would be, well, YouTube's a good place to start because if you don't understand it, you can watch YouTube videos on how to do YouTube videos. One of the things that I've noticed with your brand, Erin, is that it is a brand, right? So you have Erin Lawrence TV, where you have your very professional product review videos. You even have your own website and or a blog where you link to different products and videos. Obviously, that took a lot of time in the early days setting stuff like that up. How many of these different I'll say platforms. I'll call a website a platform. How many of these use the same kinds of skills? Is this something that would be reasonable for newbies to say, well, one day I'm going to have this and that and the other, or do you think at this point focus on that one or two social media platforms and it will work out? What are these skills transferable?
I would say the skills that you're going to use as a content creator or video producer or product reviewer, even if we're getting that granular, are absolutely transferable. And if you can not even master, but just learn enough to make good videos, those skills are absolutely transferable. If you can learn, a bit of on-camera presentation and how to present yourself so that you sound smart together, like you know what you're talking about. That's a great skill that's going to apply not just in video content, but in life. If you're going to do a presentation, if you're applying for a job, I mean, those are highly transferable skills. These days, knowing how to create a good video is going to translate not just to something like YouTube, but across any platform that's advocating for video. So if you prefer Facebook, if you prefer TikTok, X is also trying to get people to start natively uploading videos as well. So if you can become more skilled at creating video, that's absolutely a transferable skill. Something as simple as just organizing your thoughts. If you're going to put together a video, whether it's a vlog for YouTube or a product review for TikTok, having your thoughts sort of all in one place and really knowing what you're going to say and how you're going to present your information. I guess we call that organization. Being an organized person is, of course, transferable across not just the internet and social media, but across life. So I think it works both ways. I think a lot of the skills that a lot of us have in our professional lives or things we've learned in school can absolutely be applied to, the video content creator game. And similarly, the skills that you're going to learn and use and perfect being a content creator can be applied in so many places out in real life.
Well, let's dig down into a few of these skills. Obviously, we can't go through all of them, but you bring up organization, and I think this is a key one. As a professional, you're approaching product review videos very differently than a lot of people who have been in this game for a while. I know a lot of people will just find a product and talk about it. Do you think about titles? Do you think about thumbnails? Do you script anything out? When you approach a new product review video, what preparation happens before you hit the record button on your camera?
Great question. The first thing I do if I'm going to review any product is I spend time with it and as much time as I can. Because I think being hands-on with a product and trying it out, seeing what it's supposed to do, using all of those features is really going to inform what your content looks like on that. So I'll try a product out for a minimum of a few days and ideally in my mind, a week or two. And as I'm going through with that product, I'm making notes. I use the Apple Notes app to just keep notes together for thoughts that I have about the product or something that didn't work as it should. The great thing about that is those discombobulated notes actually become a script for me. So I do put together a written script. That script in turn becomes a written blog on my website, which is techgadgetsinternational.com. So I've created now content almost without trying. I then repurpose that script, the written script, into a video script. But I do some more prep work on that. So I'll sit down and take a look at the script and say, okay, well, what do I have video for? What can I show people? How can I demonstrate this? What's a concept I feel is really important to talk about, but it's kind of ethereal and you can't show people what you're talking about. Those become on camera segments. So I'll take that script and break it apart and really decide what the video is going to look like from there. And then that informs how I'm going to tape the on camera segments or what B-roll I need, what video I need. And the other thing about the video is I'm constantly, as I'm using a product, I'm constantly grabbing video of it in use. So in that week or two period where I'm testing something out, I'm always gathering video so that by the time I get down to sit down and edit that video, I've already got most of the video shot. I don't now need to sit down and go, okay, how am I going to demonstrate this? Now I need a product shot of these headphones. Now I need to show them in Bluetooth pairing mode. I've already got all that. So I think really being organized and having that script is really important. I know Mr. Beast and Patty Galloway would tell you don't film a frame of any video before you plan your thumbnail. And I think that's fantastic. And I wish I could be that person. Because I'm a product reviewer, I don't often know what the outcome is going to be when I start. So sitting down and deciding what a thumbnail is going to look like, or even what the title of something is before I ask all those questions of myself, before I try everything out, it doesn't work for me. I think if you're doing sort of more storytelling, it can work for you. But for me, it doesn't. So, what I will do though is by the time I sit down and I finished my script and I'm ready to record my video, I do know what the outcome is going to be and I do know what things are going to look like. So I will get some product shots. I'll take some photos, make sure I have the product nice and close up and myself in the frame. It's well lit. I'll use that for the thumbnail. I use a program for creating my thumbnails called Pixel Cut, which allows me to manipulate the background if I need to, if I want to swap out a background. I can highlight elements of the thumbnail. I wish I could plan thumbnails and titles in advance, but I can't. But I do at the same time think that you do need to give consideration to those at some point before the moment you're just uploading the video and it presents you with an auto screen grab. Don't ever use the auto screen grab. They're often terrible. They don't help the viewer understand what your video is about. Make sure you find some way to create a dedicated thumbnail. And same thing with a title. If you don't, have a title that immediately springs to mind, for me, what I've found with A/B testing and that of my videos, often just the simplest titles work best for me. So product name and review, or product name and full review, simple stuff like that. But yeah, that's generally all I need.
As you went through that whole process, I was trying to think for those who have not done product reviews, it might feel overwhelming because you talked about photos, B-roll, transitions, storytelling, titles, thumbnails. There's a lot of stuff here. If you were to start over, or if you just want to give advice to a newbie, they hand you a telephone, a mobile phone, and put you in a well-lit room. So you don't have any software, you don't have anything fancy. You have 10 minutes to film a video. Do you have any tips on how to get through that 10 minutes? How would you spend your time? Are you playing around with the product or are you shooting multiple cuts? Like, not multiple cuts, but you can shoot the whole review as a single cut and do several takes, right? What are you thinking about as a new reviewer that might not have those skills yet or the resources to create really professional videos?
There's a couple things anyone can do to make their videos come across as more professional. The first thing is go to a quiet room where there's not a lot of noise and not a lot going on around you. Pick a really boring background or something that's just not going to distract from you and what you're saying. That's the first thing. The next thing is to give light some consideration. I harp on light all the time with people I know because I think it's really important. But if you don't have fancy lights, that's okay. Just try and be near a window or near a source of light that when you turn on your camera and you look at it, you go, oh yeah, I look good. That's flattering. So that might just be standing next to a window, not in front of a window, because that's called backlight and it blinds the camera. But just stand near a window and let some of that natural light wash across you. That's thing two. The third thing I think is really important if you're starting out and if you don't have a lot of experience and if you're just looking to kind of cover the basics of a good product review video is make sure you do an on-camera demonstration. So many people will just hold up a product to camera and say, here's the product, trust me, it does this. It's a video camera, but you never get to see what the video looks like. You never get to see how it's shot. You never get to see what it looks like in low light. So you absolutely have to give me some kind of demonstration, whether that's on camera. Maybe if it's a blender, you're going to run the blender. You're going to make me a smoothie right here while we're standing in your kitchen. That's totally cool. B-roll is sort of when you take video of something in another setting or another situation, and then you'll add it in afterwards in your edit. You can do either of those things, but just make darn sure you have a really good demonstration of that product, because that is the number one thing that shoppers and viewers all want to see is show me what it does and how it works.
As we wrap up today, there were two big takeaways for me. One is if you're going to be professional, be intentional. Have a plan for what you're doing on your video. That's going to be really, really important. The second thing that I want to focus on is if you are going to be a professional about this, you have to do what anyone does in their job, which is have time for it and set it aside on your schedule. And I loved your idea with calendaring. Put time aside, and that's sacred time. That's when you're going to shoot your videos. That's when you're going to edit your videos. I think you have to do that if you want to have success long term with this. Now, the third thing that we haven't talked about yet, and that's where a lot of people will start really strong and then they'll fade. What do you do as a professional to continue or to be consistent long term as a product reviewer?
I think knowing what you're going to do and what you're going to cover and having a plan for your life or your channel or your content or whatever it is for longer than just the next couple of weeks is really important. Anytime someone talks to me and they say, I want to start a YouTube channel, what should I do? My first thing is always to say, you need to plan your first 6 months of videos today. You need to know what those are going to be, when you're going to do them, how you're going to do them, what the content's going to look like, who's involved. Like sketch them out, plan them out. It's the same when people talk about maybe starting a podcast. I say, that's great. What does 6 months worth of podcast look like? And they go, oh, well, I don't know. I kind of just have a general idea. And I think really drilling down and understanding what the rollout is going to look like and knowing for a fact that you have more than just 1 or 2 episodes or 1 or 2 videos in you for whatever content you're going to create is super important, because it can get really overwhelming if you're just sort of going to sit down every week at your computer or at your microphone and say, geez, I don't know what I'm going to talk about this week. It's very stressful. So I would say before you record a single thing, make sure you've got enough content, enough ideas, and the energy and the drive to want to do this for longer than just a couple of weeks. So I would say my minimum is always you need 6 months of content planned out, written out, sketched out, and a plan for how you're going to do it, or don't bother starting, because the chances of you actually following through beyond those first initial weeks of excitement gets smaller and smaller.
That's brilliant advice. Thank you so much. This whole episode, I've been thinking, oh man, these are just little things that I need to be incorporating better into my workflow. And I know that they'll bring results. So I really appreciate all that you've added today. Now, if someone wants to see what you're doing, obviously you have a large YouTube channel, and I believe it's Erin Lawrence TV. Is that correct?
That's right. The YouTube channel is Erin Lawrence TV. The blog that I've talked about is techgadgetsinternational.com. I'm on Instagram at ErinLYYC. YYC is the airport code for Calgary, in case anybody's wondering. And for those who do have curiosity about the Amazon Influencer Program in particular, I've got a website called AmazingIntentionalInfluencer.com, which has sort of help and advice and a free newsletter for people that are looking for just tips and advice into making better content.
Well, thank you so much for your time today, Erin. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.